Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marjorie McPike. I am a CPA in Southern California. I am at MLM CPA on Instagram, and this is the CPA Lady podcast. This podcast is all about accounting, taxes, estate planning, and career advice. My goal is to help people to understand taxes, help them with accounting issues, help them to pass on the wealth to the next generation, and also to help them to become the best that they can in their career. I have with me today Margaret Alfred. She is an attorney in Houston. Margaret, will you introduce yourself, please?
Most certainly. So, as Marjorie just stated, my name is Margaret Alfred, and I am based in Houston, Texas. I was licensed in December of 2018, and I received my LLM in tax law in 2019 from the University of Florida.
Oh,
I, hmm?
I said awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I really love or have a love for estate planning and teaching others how to transfer their assets to a later generation, and it being taxed as little as possible.
Awesome.
Like on minimizing taxes, period, because it's very important to keep the wealth that you build as opposed to letting the IRS take it. And now you're just left with a chunk taken out of your, what you've worked so hard for, and you're going to feel it and it's going to hurt. So I'm going to help, or I help with that. And so whether or not you utilize me or someone else, get tax assistance. It's extremely important. But yes, I'm just a tax attorney, a little old tax attorney in Texas. And I'm trying to get the word out about how to minimize taxes.
Awesome. So you're a tax attorney in Texas. So what do you do in your day job? Is that what you do in your 9 to 5? Or do you
No, it's not exactly what I do in my 9 to 5. I do tax of a sort, but it's more property taxes. The firm I work for handles delinquent property taxes. I say we're a glorified collection agency, but it's very interesting. It does still have a tax code, but I focus on part-time my tax planning, my business formations, copyrights, trademarks, things of that nature, notarizing things. So those are all kind of services that I offer whenever I'm not at work, which I can do because I'm not a partner.
Yeah, if you want to be. So, okay. So, how did you get into, so you said that you got your license in 2018 and then you went back and got your LLM in 2019. So so you have your JD in 2018?
Yes.
Okay.
So from 2015 to 2018, I went to Thurgood Marshall School of Law. It was my first HBU university. And that is when I acquired my Juris Doctorate. I took the bar in December of, I took the bar in the summer of 2018. And then that same summer, I flew to Florida. No. My mom and I drove to Florida. It was like 11 hours because I wanted my car out there. And then I started the program at the University of Florida to get my LLM in taxation.
Awesome. So you did the broad spectrum law, but then you specialized in tax.
Exactly. And it's so crazy because I never would have thought tax would be my specialization. And every time another attorney hears that I specialize in tax, they're like, whew, why? Like that's the first question I get. But I always utilize the cliche, nothing certain except for death and taxes. And what I do allows me to focus on them both.
Right. Oh, that's good. I like that. Awesome. Okay, so a little bit about how you ended up in the field of tax, or I'm sorry, as an attorney. So was that your dream from growing up, or did different things happen that kind of put you in that direction, or how did you get there?
So I'm going to start off by saying I always knew I wanted to be an attorney.
Oh, nice.
I always knew I wanted to go and do accounting. I don't know when I got the dream or when I had the motivation, the premonition, whatever, the epiphany, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's always been my desire. I always wanted to do something that was always going to be needed.
Right.
And I loved math. It's funny because when I was in grade school, that's where I made my first D and F, was math.
Mm-hmm.
My parents got me all the help that I could get. I did Sylvan. I had personal tutors, and thank God that they were able to do that for me.
Right.
And by middle school, math was my best and favorite subject.
Awesome.
So,
well, that's a plus for people that say they don't like math. You know,
mm-hmm.
It's like if you put in the time, I think a lot of people don't like math because they don't put in the time to understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't understand it. But the only way to get understanding is to make yourself understand.
Right.
I'm that kind of person that learns all the way. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to write it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to teach somebody else. I'm like, surely one way is going to stick.
Right.
So that's just how I think. And yes, it does require a little bit more effort, but I've always had to put in effort to make good grades.
Right. Right.
And so if you're not willing to put in the effort, you just might as well just go ahead and say, I want to stay stagnant.
Mm-hmm. That's a bar right there. Because in order to have anything, you have to put in work. It requires work, whether it's, learning a course, studying a subject, becoming an entrepreneur. There's so much going on, even as becoming an entrepreneur, but having the mindset and the motivation, that's work, because it's easy to become discouraged,
Correct.
Other people doing things and you're sitting here, it's like, okay, well, they're doing this, or they have this momentum, it's like, how do I, it's like, it's easy to become discouraged. So yes, you have to put in the work. Yeah.
Correct. And I think what I'm learning is one of the biggest things you can have in order to help you get to the success that you want is energy. You have to protect your energy. It is so very important. I now have the motto that if you're not contributing to my energy, if we don't come and we're not of similar minds, then you cannot remain.
Well, that's good.
Yes. No, I'm just filling myself with the right material. So now it's coming out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm just always listening to something motivational. That's what I do when I'm in the car. When I'm driving, I'm listening to something that is filling me up with energy. Because there's so many different avenues that just offer it. There's so many motivational speakers. You cannot sleep on these people. That's what they do, and it's out there free.
Right.
So.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about we talked about, or you mentioned trademarks and copyrights and intellectual property. So what's the difference between a trademark and a copyright?
Okay, so a trademark is whenever you want to get maybe like a saying and a logo or some kind of motto. You want to get that. You want to make that your own. You want to make sure that it's protected and that no one else can use it without your permission.
Okay.
Now, the difference between the trademark and the copyright is the copyright generally has some kind of artistic or design that you've created. It could be lyrical, as in music. It could be artwork. It could even be a book. Mm-hmm. So those are all different things that make up a copyright versus a trademark.
Okay. And then intellectual property.
So intellectual property can be a plethora of things. For instance, copyrights and trademarks fall under intellectual property. But there's so much more. I know one of the main things that's really hot right now is the small print for contracts on the web. Mm-hmm. So if you have like some kind of website and you require people to sign a contract on there, you want to make sure that you're following your state's rules in regards to those contracts and that small print. So that is extremely, the privacy rules, that's all extremely important right now when it comes to copywriting. I don't particularly do a lot, not copywriting, intellectual property. I don't particularly do a lot of intellectual property except for copyright and trademarks. So I will refer that to a friend of mine who specializes in it.
Okay. Awesome. So do you see that people that have, say like a large Instagram account or an Instagram account that has a lot of followers, do you feel as though that's something that needs to be protected in a way, or is it just okay?
I personally believe you're better off protecting whatever brand it is that you're creating. If you want to be the only person that has that brand, the only person that can say, no, this is mine, well, then yes, you should protect it. I think that is 100% concrete. I don't see why you would not want to.
Okay, awesome. And then a trademark or copyright, that's US, so it's not something that's state specific. Do you have to do the correct?
Oh no, it could be federal. You could do it with your state, but you can also do it federally. I would advise people personally to do it federally or do both. If you're gonna do one or the other, do the federal, but if you can, do both. Why not?
Okay. Just
because the federal covers more ground.
Okay, good information. Very cool. So let's talk about we can go two different ways. Let's talk about what you're seeing, because we kind of chatted about business formation. So that's something that you can assist with as well, helping someone.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Do you do for all states, or do you just primarily focus on Texas?
Okay, so since I am currently licensed in Texas, I only do Texas. However, and I think I mentioned this to you maybe not on the podcast, but beforehand, I am more than willing to get a license in another state as long as I know the work is there. Okay. So that's one of the biggest things for me. Until I get that license, I would refer clients to a good person in that state. But yes, Texas is the main state I'm in. I can always look at a document for someone who's in another state and say, okay, I'm based in Texas. I'm a Texas attorney. This is just me looking at the information, but you need to, or I can help you find an attorney in your state that can actually give you your state's rules and their applicability to whatever contract or whatever business formation we have going on.
Okay. So when you talk about business formation and being in Texas, you're talking more of the actual legal documents, like the articles.
Correct.
Articles of the other one for an LLC organization.
The operating agreement.
Right. So you're looking at actual preparing the formal documents.
Correct. Yes. So I like to tell people not every state is the same, but I'll give Texas as an example. It's at least $300 just to file your LLC with the Secretary of State in Texas. Now, every state is not that expensive, but some states, most states actually, require an annual fee that you have to pay recurringly after you file. So they may have a smaller filing fee with the Secretary of State up front, but then every year you may be paying just to keep that registered with the Secretary of State. Texas, you pay a lot up front, but you don't have that.
Right. Because you guys have in Texas, is it like a gross receipts fee, or it's something, a franchise fee? It's something that.
I don't know. I don't want to speak to it because I'm not sure.
I prepared some returns that have a filing in Texas, but I can't remember. And they have a lot of revenue, so it wouldn't, the average person wouldn't pay it. But yeah.
Okay. Now look, I'm quick to say I won't speak about something I don't know all the facts about. I'm like,
But you know where to find the information, right?
Correct. Always.
always. So, estate planning, generational wealth. What are you seeing, and what do you recommend for people just getting started out? I know one of the big things is Chadwick Boseman. His wife is having to file in probate. So what
Hmm.
can someone do to avoid probate? So I guess
Okay, so
it is kind of two different questions.
so okay. Well, I mean, I can tie them together. Um, what I'm seeing is there are a lot more people, especially of African American descent, that are becoming business owners.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, even if you get everything together initially when you start, are you prepared for what happens if you, for some reason, become incapacitated?
Mm-hmm.
Or which just means you can't do the financial background things for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you prepared for when you pass? Because tomorrow is not promised.
Right.
So a lot of people aren't. For some reason, we just don't think about death or passing because we just kind of take for granted that we're going to be here tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, I always tell people first, at least have a will, at least. But if you're trying to avoid the probate process, then maybe considering a trust would be correct or right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Trusts are complex, they're flexible, and you can get a lot done in a trust. You can take care of all of the planning you need to with a trust.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's all kinds of things. So if you were to have generational wealth and you're figuring out how to pass it down and you want it tax-free, there's several things you can do. Then now there is a trust. It's called either a credit shelter trust, bypass, or a family trust. And that's what you'll find a lot with trust. There's like a lot of different names for the exact same thing. But the main purpose of this is to know how much the tax exemption is
Mm-hmm. Right.
once you pass, and then to transfer that either to directly to your children, you can transfer it to the trust. And then if you have over that amount, which is it's like around 14 million or somewhere around there,
Mm-hmm.
it's recently changed
Right.
due to the recent act. Yeah.
Right. It changed.
But with that being said, you can, however much that amount is, you can transfer it to the trust or give it directly to your children tax-free. And then the remainder, if you're over that, you can transfer that to your spouse and it be tax-free. And then, while your spouse is alive, if they invest that money that's in that bypass trust, if it grows while in it, it's tax-free growth.
Right.
So if they're smart about how they grow it,
Mm-hmm.
then when they transfer their interest over to their children upon their passing, your children have a lot of tax-free income coming into them. And the goal is always, how can I keep hard for in the family and as tax-free as possible?
Right. 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 And that, just to touch on that one, that kind of goes to, I posted something on Instagram a little while ago about realized and unrealized gains. So it's like, if you have money, if you put stock in an account and it grows, when it turns over to your kids, that money, they get a step up in basis. So that's an unrealized gain that they don't have to pay tax on, or even
Exactly.
trust. You put a house in a trust, right? When it appreciates in value and you sell it, the trust, and you pass away, then they don't have to pay capital gains on that. So
Yeah. I mean, there's all little bitty quirks, and I like to say it's a case-by-case analysis. It's always going to be contingent and dependent on the circumstances of each individual person, but there are just so many options.
Right, right.
And you won't know them unless you meet with a tax preparer or someone who specializes particularly in this trade.
Right, right. Yes. I always say that it's, every situation is unique. I would have people that would say, well, they got a $7,000 refund and I got a $200 refund. It's like, your tax return is unique. Unless every situation on that tax return is the exact same thing, you can't compare it, because everyone's situation is different. And so that's why it's important to talk to someone and to be transparent with the person that you're speaking to, because you can't tell them half the story and expect for them to give you, a full scenario. You have
You
to.
can't?
No, you can't do it. They need to know all the facts, everything that's involved. So yes, and I like estates and trusts. I actually started working for a small CPA firm in Sun City, And if anyone knows Sun City, California, it's old money. It's old money. So, the CPA that I worked for was right next to an attorney, and he specialized in estates and trusts. So that's what I
Wow.
was working with. So I prepared, many 706s that have, millions of dollars on them.
Hmm.
The people, taxpayers, they were diligent in meeting with the attorney and setting it up so that the money was put in a trust, and it transferred down the way it was supposed to. So
Exactly.
important is knowing that, as you start accumulating income and wealth, revenue that we want to turn into wealth, right? Because like you say, wealth is what you keep. It's important to talk to someone to make sure that you're passing that on and that it's doing what you were intending to do it. So people don't know your intentions unless it's put in writing, right? People can't
I
actually
agree.
in your head.
Let's not leave it up to chance, because the state will decide. The state will decide for you.
Yeah.
And I assure you, it's not what you want. You don't want your family fighting over what happens to your assets that you've worked so hard for, and really just squandering money on attorney's fees, because that's really what's happening.
Yes, it's attorney's fees, it's accounting fees, it's statutory fees, because they do in California, they have a like levels where they take maybe
Hmm.
1% off of the first amount and then another percent off of another percent, so it's like you end up paying a lot of money in fees. And then the other thing is that it becomes public record.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's why you want the trust. If you like to maintain your financials private, you want to keep them private, well, then you need to have probably a trust. There may be other options for you, but a trust may be the best one. Because I'm not saying that a trust doesn't always include a will to an extent, because if for some reason, which generally is bound to happen, if one piece or one asset is not transferred to that trust, well, you need to have a will, a pour over will, that makes sure that whatever that asset is tied into that trust upon your passing.
yes, yes, yes. You have to let people know what you intend. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's talk about COVID-19 and how things are going for you, and how you're pivoting with it. And one of the things that I find is that a lot of people are making a lot of money. There's a lot of money being made. Whether it's selling digital products, whether it's being affiliate, stock trading, so what do you see, and what recommendations do you have for people?
Well, some of my main recommendations when it comes to COVID is just be mindful of the income that you're making and what it means for you.
Yes.
So, and when I say for you, I mean in regards to this upcoming tax return.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest and most important things that a person can do is make more money. But you understand how, which is being taxed on the money that you're making.
Right.
How do you lower those taxes? What deductions are available that you can start implementing into your business now, that you can start making sure that you're keeping up with, you're keeping track of, whether it's you or someone you've hired to keep track of it, so that when it comes time for your tax return, you're not like looking everywhere, wondering what happened to, you do not want to be there. You don't need that extra added level of stress.
Mm-hmm.
You want to focus on your business. So leave the taxes, the keeping the files and the receipts and all of that to a professional.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the main things that I would recommend for people who are starting to make all this money. Mm-hmm. Know what it does or how it affects you tax-wise, what brackets you're in, what credits, what deductions are available to you. Just be mindful. Educate yourselves. Because like, how do you know if the person that you're going to for help is enlightened and knowledgeable about the topic that you're discussing with them? Just do a little bit of reading in advance. Just, make sure that you're protecting yourself even from the people that are supposed to be protecting you.
Right.
So that's my little nuggets.
I agree. You need to know what your tax return should look like. Don't
Correct.
take a chance and ask questions. Just because they are the professional doesn't mean that something could have, they could have not seen something, or maybe
Mhm.
you intended for something to be deductible and they didn't pick it up. It's like, have that
Yeah.
conversation. So know what's going on. Know what's going
Well,
on.
people are human. We're all human. So that means we all make mistakes. I
Correct.
mean, I make mistakes. I'm sure you probably have made a mistake or two. So don't think that they're not, whoever it is won't make a mistake. Now it is whoever's responsibility who's working on your information to be upfront and let you know if they've made a mistake, how it affects you and how they're going to correct it.
Right.
But definitely, the communication has to be open and it has to be frequent, because, you know, no one, like you mentioned earlier, no one knows your intent unless you write it down, you speak it. They don't know. Like, we're not telepathic. So I agree with that all the way.
Okay. So let's talk about separating business and personal.
Oh, wow. That is huge, huge. A lot of people, when they get into being a business owner, just don't understand what it means to be a business owner and how to separate themselves from that. I will give an example of a client that I had that didn't know how to do it. And so this individual, her husband created a trucking company in October of 2019. He did not get a business bank account until January of 2020. He doesn't know what revenue really came in through that time frame. He kept receipts. Oh, but the receipts there are receipts. But when it comes to the income, I asked about that, and they were like, oh, well, you know, most of the transactions were done in cash. And I'm kind of like, I just took a moment and I had to woo-saw. So when it comes to personal and business, a lot of people do not realize how to separate the two. They just don't. They don't consult with a tax attorney or a tax specialist like yourself. They just don't get a good understanding of, how do I keep doing personally what I've been doing thus far, but have my business come through over here?
Right.
And it's a problem, because if you have a business, if you spent the money to create your entity and make sure you have limited liability in that way, but you don't know how to separate your personal and your business, then if someone sues you, if someone has a claim against you of some sort, both of them could very well be considered one, which means anyone who can come after your business assets can also come after your personal.
Right.
So there are some simple things you can do to separate them both. And that is, keep receipts separate. Know what from your personal is really business, and know what from your business is business. And maintain them. Maintain those records, whether you're scanning them into a system, whether you're just keeping them, whatever you're doing, make sure you have them readily available.
Right.
Get you an accountant or a bookkeeper or a bookkeeping system. I don't know how you want to do it. Just make sure you have it, because it will make your tax preparer's job that much easier.
Yeah.
They will praise you and thank you for doing things the right way. So that's just two things that they can do. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I'm definitely going to say have a separate bank account.
Definitely. Yes.
Because you want it to be separate, you know, run your business like a business, treat it like a business, if that's what it is. You know, I would tell people, you know, say for instance, like San Diego Gas and Electric, or let's even go to the president. It's like, you know, if the president's supposed to be a corporation, if he had all his personal stuff coming through there, everybody would have a fit, right? So do the same.
Right.
You know, run your business like a business. It's a corporation. Treat it as such. You know, have a separate credit card that's for the business. All your business expenses, run it through there, and keep receipts. You know, even if you think something may not be for the business, if you're doing something that's for the business, have it go through your business account. You know?
Yes.
Have it go through the business account. And then, you know, then you, if it ends up being not deductible, then that's fine at the end, but at least it's going through the business account. So,
correct. Treat your business like a business. Yes.
yeah.
I love that. I love that.
That's it. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that you were doing, because I know you're into the digital currency. So tell us.
Yes. So I've just started. This is probably about my second week of learning about Forex and trading currencies. I find it absolutely fascinating. I am into learning, like, period. I can't even express how much I love learning new things. So this is like, I'm like a kid at a candy store. I'm like, wait, you mean to tell me that there's a market where on like the daily cap is possibly $5 to $7 trillion? And like, that's, to me, that's unlimited, because I'm not going to hit 5 trillion.
Right.
So it's like, compared to your 9 to 5 or your job where there is a cap and it's based on whatever your employer is telling you that cap is, I can enter into a market, develop a skill, and it's got a 5 million daily cap. Like, so that's one of the biggest things I'm working on right now, becoming competent on just understanding strategy and how to risk manage my trades and things of that nature. I find it extremely interesting, and I can't wait to start making money. I technically already am, but I have a demo account and I have a live account.
Okay. So awesome. I love the energy. I love the energy. That's so cool. So let me tell you, because we kind of went a different direction. We were supposed to be talking about taxes and accounting and estate planning and all that. We just kind of went to the left. But anyway, I don't think it's to the left, because I think it's always good information.
Definitely. Definitely.
So we do have to kind of wrap it up. So what would be some nuggets that you would want to leave with people regarding anything that you have going on? So just
okay. So as an attorney, a tip that I will always give every client on earth is get it in writing, period. Always get it in writing. And consult with a specialist and whatever it is that you need. Those are two very important things that you can always do. And so that's the attorney in me giving that advice. Now, the person in me that likes tax, so the tax specialization in me is telling you always, always, always maintain accurate records. Always. Have them somewhere. And if you don't want to do it, pay someone else to do it for you. Be aware, do a little bit of research. Find out what's out there that's going to help you save on your taxes. I mean, it's really not that much work. It's a Google away. It's just that simple. And so those are two things that I would say definitely do from a tax perspective. But also, as you mentioned, treat your business like a business. Period. That's it. And then have more than one source of income. Have more than two. Like, don't stop. There is no stopping. You make that vision board, or you set up your goals, but don't you write down a goal that you're not willing to write down the steps for. Because what's the point in writing down the goal if you don't write down the steps? That means you don't actually want to get there. And that's how I feel about it. That's how I've implemented it into my life. If I have a goal, well, then the next is what sacrifices, monetarily, mentally, what steps do I need to do to get to my goal? I don't have to meet it tomorrow. I don't have to meet it next week or next month. But if I write it down, consistently, if I keep it in my face, I'm going to get there. Yeah. So those are just some things. But the last and most important one is protect your energy. Protect your energy. Make sure that whoever you have around you is not draining you. Write a list of people who are draining you, and then either eliminate them or reposition them. Because you do not need that type of karma, that type of drain. You need all the energy that you have to make your goals. That's what you need it for. So if it's not serving a purpose, if it's not meeting your goals, if you can't have conversations like we are having with people and get something out of it, bounce off of each other, it's not serving its purpose. And you might need to let it go. Mm-hmm. But those are just some things that I would definitely advise everyone to just implement into their daily lives.
That's a bar. That's a bar. I like that. I love the energy one. I love the energy. I mean, I like them all. I like them all. But it's just something about the energy, something about, and that could relate to business too. You know, if you have a business partner or a business person that someone wants to do business with you, or even a company or somebody that you're doing business with, if the energy's not right, you know, if it's not a mutual beneficial relationship, then it's like, yeah, maybe I don't need that one.
Exactly.
So
be selective. Be selective.
Yeah.
Because it's that important. Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Treat your business like a business. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I always
You said it. I'm just agreeing with you.
I always enjoy talking to you. I do. It's such you have good energy. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
So do you.
Thank you. I love talking to people. I love talking to people that I can bounce ideas off of, and you know, I can grow, they can grow. You know, a lot of people that I'm around, I feel as though I'm always the one that's encouraging and building and, you know, whatever. So it's always good when I can be with somebody that I can get something from too, you know?
Yes, I feel the same way. You get tired of just being around people and you're always the one that's inspiring them. You're like, I want my inspiration. Where's my inspiration? You know?
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. So we're gonna sign off here. This is the end of this podcast, but this is not the last time that you will see this interaction between myself and Margaret. And I never told you that my mother's name was Margaret. So
and my grandmother's name was Margaret. So it's like
awesome. My mother's name was Margaret. My grandmother's name was Alfred. So
oh my goodness, that's like coincidence? I think not. No, just
so yes, feel free to follow Margaret on Instagram at Ms. Tax Attorney. Send your questions to her regarding business formations, legal questions that you have. If she can't answer them directly, she knows how to find the answer. So
you are 100% correct. Thank you for having me.
So much. That was so awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome.